WQAD News 8, this is WQAD This Week.
Good morning. It's Sunday, January 22nd. Thank you for joining us for News 8 This Week. I'm Jon Diaz. We start this morning with the crisis in Ukraine. This week, a helicopter crash in the country took the life of a top Ukrainian official. The helicopter then fell into a kindergarten where it killed at least one child and injured about a dozen others. Meanwhile, here in the Quad Cities, communities continue to support people fleeing the violence, including a group in Monmouth that is using what's called a support circle to help two families.
And joining us now is Professor Tom Sankiewicz and Irene Budd. Thank you to the both of you for taking the time to talk with us today.
I'm very glad to be here.
Professor, I want to start with you, and I want you to give us an idea of how this all came about. Obviously, many, many months in the making at this point. But how did you decide to bring a family over? And I know there's two families we got to talk about. Can you talk about how that started, and can you talk and define for us what a sponsor circle is?
Yes. Well, this all started back last January of 2022. My daughter was visiting us, and she was looking on the web and came across the information about sponsor circles, which is an organization that was originally designed to support Afghan refugees after the United States left that country. There were a lot of Afghans looking for entry into the U.S. And so we originally were thinking in terms of Afghans, but the program has expanded a lot. The idea of sponsor circles, and the URL is sponsorcircles.org, was to get local communities to support refugees on an individual basis. And so they asked us to come up with a group of 5 people who would be the core sponsors, and then the community at large would support us. So when my daughter came across sponsor circles, I thought it was a really interesting idea. So I talked to my pastor of the Catholic Church, Father Jim Heckner, to see if he thought it was a good idea too, because I knew it would have to be a community effort. And we both thought it was worth feeling the community out. So we had a public meeting, invited anybody who wanted to come to talk about the sponsor circle idea. And there was significant support. There were more than 30 people at that initial meeting. And we did get a core of 5 people who said they would be willing to become sponsors for this project. So then we waited for Afghan refugees, and just about the time we were approved, the number of Afghan refugees coming into the United States dropped significantly. And so we waited until the end of April before we realized that it wasn't going to happen with Afghans. But by that time, the Ukrainian refugees were being incorporated into the program. And we readily agreed to switch our interests to Ukrainians rather than Afghans. And so by the middle of July, we welcomed our first Ukrainian family to Monmouth, and they settled in quite well, and we were very pleased with how relatively easy it was and how much community support we had for the program. And eventually we realized we had enough resources available to invite a second family to come. And the Budds came in November, and they came with 3 children. The first family was just a husband and a wife. So it was quite different to deal with a family of 5 and help them find schooling and all the additional needs that families need to settle in. But we think that they've been settling in quite well too. So that's kind of the big picture.
And we've done stories about families, local families who have welcomed families from Ukraine, but we haven't talked quite as much about the sponsor circle sort of idea. How critical has that been in really facilitating this process to happen, especially in the community, in the sort of the Monmouth community?
Well, you're quite right. The families you've interviewed are sponsored by individuals, and actually the sponsor circles still have to work through that system. So one member of the sponsor circle still needs to be the official sponsor of the Ukrainians coming, and I'm the one who's been officially the sponsor. But the nice thing about the sponsor circle is that I'm not alone. That the responsibilities are spread among not only the 5 members of the sponsor circle, but also we reach out to the entire community, and they've been very supportive in many ways. The Lutheran Church, for example, wasn't using its parsonage, so they agreed to let the families use the parsonage as their first base, their first home when they arrived. And that made it a lot easier for us to use our financial resources in other ways. And so people have contributed not only financially, but they've been providing furniture, household items, clothing, and members of the circle and the community have helped the families when they needed to go out to start their medical exams and things like that. So the nice thing about the sponsor circle is it's a community effort.
Irene, I want to turn some questions to you now. The professor just talked about the community support. Is that something that was immediately apparent to you when you arrived to the Quad Cities?
I see that the people here in the small villages, in the small towns, are very friendly, and they are always ready to help to you.
What was the experience like? As I mentioned, we've talked with families who have come from Ukraine as a result of what's happening there. Tell me a little bit about your experience back home and how the journey brought you here.
It was a quite difficult decision to move, but we have decided this after the attacks on power stations becomes, and we had the power shortage, and because of that, we had a lot of difficulties in Ukraine. So after those, we have decided to try to move, and the reason is our kids. So because we wanted them to have the normal children experience, we wanted them to go to the school, and so it's like that.
How has it been for them? Are they enjoying their time here? Are they settling in?
They like their school very much. It's like they goes to there every day with great pleasure. It's like kids not always like to go to school, but now my kids, they just in awe to go to school. We have a lot of tasks in Ukraine. You have to do a lot of homework, and here you study like it's in very friendly atmosphere. It's like something completely new. They never knew such things.
Well, it's so nice to see a big smile on your face. Do you have are you looking to the future and thinking about what you would eventually like to do?
For now, our plans have not changed. We are planning to return to Ukraine after I don't know, after the war will end. So yes, we'd love to return to Ukraine.
What is, Irene, your favorite part so far? I obviously you miss home. I can only imagine. But is there a favorite thing that you have done here, eaten here, experienced here that was new for you? You know, since you arrived.
I haven't seen so much yet, but what I have seen, I love the people here. You know, really love.
Well, I mean, and then it's so great to hear because yes, we have a great community here, and I think a lot of people would agree. We're very happy to have you. To the both of you, thank you for taking the time this week to talk with us, and Irene, we wish you the best of luck.